Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show you what my normal morning yoga practice looks like. It takes me about 15 minutes and I really like it because it helps get me sort of, stretched out, ready for the day and feeling more present. I'm also going to show you some incorrect and correct ways to do certain positions. This first one is called downward dog and it's actually an inversion, which I really like because it doesn't really feel like I'm working that hard. You can bend your knees a little bit if it'll help you get your hips up, but you want to get your hips towards the ceiling. You don't want to hunch over. You can move around, put weight on one foot or the other. This is a plank, obviously. You can lower to your knees to get to the ground for an upward facing dog. So you can do it that way, or it's a little bit more advanced. You can just lower yourself all the way down to upward facing dog. Now you don't want to hunch your shoulders up, you want to keep your neck nice and long. So that is an easier way to get from upward to downward dog, and then here is a more advanced way, you just don't use your knees. Next I'm going to use something called three-legged dog, so I'm essentially just using 3 legs, keeping your hips nice and square, don't open them up. If you bend your knee like that, it really stretches your quads, which feels nice, and that is, I don't know the name of it, but it's more advanced. I really like it because that stretches my abs out. So there's the other side, flip over, whoops. But that really stretches your core and gets you moving. And then back to downward facing dog, always. This is called a lunge, obviously. You want to keep your knee right above your ankle, not like that, because that can hurt your ankle and your knee. Then from here, I like to open up my hips with this as well, but that's optional. Stretching out hamstrings, and then just different variations of stretching my legs. This balance I really like because it enacts your core and your whole leg. So you've stretched it out and then you get to sort of put those muscles to use. That's another variation of a lunge. I happen not to like that one too much just because it's more of a muscle use than a stretch for me. And doing what it's called a chaturanga, it just kind of helps to reset your body so you can switch to the other side. By the way, my boyfriend is on the porch with me at this point, so I'm not talking to myself. And what I'm going to do next, I really like to do headstands and inversions just because I feel like, especially in the morning, it gets lots of oxygen to my brain or blood to my brain. I'm not sure how real that is, but it feels good. If you aren't ready for headstands or anything like that, you can always sit on your butt and you can stretch this way, just stretch your splits that way. It's the same stretch, I just happen to do it upside down. And here we go with some more leg stretches. Are you surprised yet? This will help with your inner thighs. Just make sure you're being careful on your knees and your ankles, that they're in line with each other. And here is going to be a really great hamstring stretch, and I'll show you from the side so you can see. I like to turn my knees out just a little bit, try and keep your back straight, and then you can bend your knees a little bit. My hips get a little tight in the morning, so they need a little extra love. Putting your hands on the ground like that just pulls the stretch a little bit farther. If you can and are able to reach, putting your hands on the outside of your ankles deepens the stretch. And this stretches both your legs and your tummy as you go to each side. Speaking of breathing, I do also think it's good sometimes in a yoga practice to just take a second and sort of regroup your body and check in just to see how you're doing, if there's any muscles that are hurting or feel good. Okay, so when it comes to forward folds and stretching out your hamstrings and your back, you want to make sure your back is sort of as straight as possible. Hunching your back like that can still stretch, but just it's not as beneficial for you. Stretching one leg at a time, you can put your hands behind your knees or your calf or your leg, like your thigh, forgetting my body parts. Moving your leg to your outside will stretch your inner thigh. Moving it across your body will stretch your glutes. You do want to make sure to keep your legs straight and also keep both hips on the floor. You can do that by keeping the leg that's on the ground nice and straight. So this is called cat and cow, I believe. Most yoga teachers that I know will just say to keep the arch vertical, so to go straight up and straight down, but I think going to the side really engages your core too. And speaking of engaging your core, if you stick your arms and legs out like this, you can use the same side or opposite sides. It really gets your core moving. I think using opposite sides is a little better if you have any balance problems. That way you're not going to topple over to one side. Child's pose is a really great recovery position if you feel like you need to take a second and catch your breath, by the way. This I like to do to give my internal organs a nice little hug in the morning. You gotta keep your hips nice and straight though, don't lean like that. Keep them nice and faced in one direction. And both sides, obviously, because both sides need hugs. Again, keep your hips straight. This one takes a little bit of practice because it can feel really weird. No matter what your practice does end up looking like, please don't forget to breathe. That can be kind of hard if you're trying new poses, but it will make the whole process a lot easier, especially if you're trying something new. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this has given you some inspiration as to how you can expand your yoga practice a little bit.